Hello, it's Leon again from Sofia, Bulgaria. Good evening. It is Sunday, the 5th of February. It is quite cold and snowy outside, so I'm nice and cozy indoors. And I decided to do a video because there's not much to do anyway. So I got a question for some advice. A person works in the Netherlands and wants to move his tax residency to Bulgaria. So let's get into the questions. He works, let's say, remotely online for a Dutch-based organization as a consultant, a financial consultant. He can work anywhere in the world and all he needs is laptop and internet connection. And he obviously looks into Bulgaria because he's probably found out that tax residency is quite attractive here. Taxes are lower. And what he wants to know in particular is if it is a wise idea to move from Netherlands to Bulgaria, seeing his situation. Well, yes, because taxes are lower here. In the Netherlands, you pay a fortune in taxes. And in Bulgaria, we have a flat rate, flat income tax of 10%. You pay, let's say, if you come here independently, another 10% in social insurances, let's say. So in total, I think you spend about 20% of your income, and then you'll still need to take care of insurance for yourself and obviously your own pension, because I believe if you want to leave the Netherlands and move your tax residency to Bulgaria, you might need to unregister from the Dutch system, the register, and register in Bulgaria. And that's where the unattractive part starts. It's all nice once you've settled, but you need to go register with the ministry here, and that's quite a bureaucratic process, as you mentioned. Just take a full day for it. You'll need to prove that you have some form of income. You need a rental contract. It is fairly bureaucratic, and everything happens face to face. Now you can hire or rent people to come help you, let's say, but you will need to be there physically yourself. It's kind of like biting through the sour apple, as we say in the Netherlands. You just need to suffer through it and you'll be fine. It is actually fairly functional once you just spend the necessary time in the ministry, and you'll just get through it. People speak English, they're reasonably friendly. You just need to have a lot of paperwork to prove that you're actually a resident here, or you'll be so for the foreseeable future. You'll get a residence permit and you're good to go. In terms of taxes, so it is obviously more attractive to have your tax residency here, but there's a side note, and that is that you must have the center of your life here in Bulgaria. So you must be able to prove that you actually have an address here, whether that's an Airbnb or an actual rental apartment. You need an address to register on, and you must also be able to prove that your the center of your life is here in Bulgaria. So you must spend most of your year in this country. Now, you might be asked to prove that to the tax authorities by, for example, showing plane tickets that you came here on a certain date and you stayed here for a significant amount of time, okay? I once requested a document that said I'm tax obliged in Bulgaria, and I had to prove all of these things: plane tickets, rental contract, that sort of thing. I got a document. So you are asking the right person, because I recently worked for the Netherlands Cancer Institute in Amsterdam, and I worked remotely as well, just like you're doing right now. What I did is I hired the company called Aidos, AIDOS, which is a Dutch founded accounting agency here in Sofia, and they help me do my tax return. So I do pay a fair amount of taxes here because my income is from the Netherlands, but I live here. I just pay my 20% in taxes here through this agency. They help me do the tax return. I pay the yearly amount in taxes and I'm good to go. I request a declaration that I've paid it, and that's all. Now, you will not be able to do your taxes by yourself because it's all pretty much face to face, and you don't want to go to the authorities. It will cost you a lot of time that you should actually be working. So I do advise you to register an accounting agency for the annual tax return once you're finally here. Whereas for the residency registering, you need to be there pretty much yourself most of the time. Now, the good thing is that with the taxes, you can outsource most of that. You mentioned that in Bulgaria you need to register as a consultant or a company with the authorities. Not necessarily. Like, you can just have your standard employment contract in the Netherlands. It can mention that your address is in Bulgaria. And all you really need to do is be in Bulgaria and you pay your taxes from here. Okay? Once you have your tax residency. And what you do then is, with the annual tax return in the Netherlands, you mention that you've already done your taxes in Bulgaria, and we have a tax treaty that will avoid that you pay it twice, okay? And then you'll be fine. So, yeah, that's how you do it. You don't need to necessarily register as an independent consultant or a company. You do, or you might need to go to the, what's it called again? We have an agency here where you need to go for an A1 form, I believe, which is that you work for a foreign company, but you live here. I think you need an A1 form, but others will be able to sort of help you with that. They mostly do tax returns and company registering and such, I believe. But you'll get there. It is not that horrific as it all seems. Once you go to an agency, just take a full day for you to stand there and wait, and in the best scenario you're done with a few hours and you just go have lunch and a coffee and you'll be fine. But to avoid frustration, don't try to go in your lunch break because you won't be able to do anything. Things take a bit more time and we're not as digitalized in the Netherlands yet. That might have its ups and downs, or upsides and downsides depending how you look at it. But you'll be fine. Don't worry too much about the bureaucracy because you can outsource 75% of it. My annual tax return, when I outsourced that, it cost me about €100 to do it through an accountant. Saves me a big headache. If I want to get a document from the tax authorities, I outsource it as well. Someone else goes to the actual agency, I pay €100 and I have my document. So my time currently is worth more than €100 an hour, so, or at least for the companies I work for, and I cannot afford to spend 5 hours standing somewhere during my work week, let's say. It doesn't make sense if I can outsource it. So I advise you to do the same. Is it a good idea to buy real estate in the future if one is settled in Bulgaria? The answer, as with everything, is it depends. I'm here since 2014 and I saw the apartment prices around the business park where you could get an apartment for €60,000. I was very poor. I was €30,000 in debt. I didn't have any money and I thought it was very expensive. Nowadays, these apartments will cost you €120,000. So would it have been smart if I just bought my apartment? Yes, but I couldn't afford it because I was in debt, and I didn't see the world in the same way. I thought €60,000 is a lot of money, but which it is. But if you compare it to the apartment prices in Amsterdam, for example, €120,000 is still cheaper. But prices have doubled pretty much over the past 10 years in real estate, or doubled, let's say, some 30, 40, 50, 60% for sure. You'll be able to find apartments here for €80,000 or something in the smaller places. But if you want something good, be prepared to pay 3,000 to 4,000 euros per square meter nowadays. Yeah, and is it a good idea to buy real estate? Well, you can easily be cheated because a lot of real estate agencies are very, very good with that, especially if they see a foreigner. And there's really bad practices here where, for example, in the the counting of the square meters, the surface of your apartment. They include, for example, the balcony or the common areas or the insulation space between the walls. So they count the whole walls, even let's say the outside walls, into your amount of surface, and that's basically just cheating. There's a lot of hidden taxes everywhere with the banks, with the mortgages, because Bulgaria is not an A1 economy as the Netherlands is. It is not as stable, and there's less trust in the market. Um, your interest rates might differ a lot as well. So is it a good deal? I think it all depends what you have to spend. If you have 100,000 euros to just put down, I would say yes, why not? But at the same time, I don't find Sofia a very attractive city to buy real estate in for myself, because I find it a bad deal to pay 180,000 euros. That's actually, I said 120,000, but you can easily pay 180,000 euros here as well for just your regular 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment. It costs you 180,000, 200,000 maybe. I found it a bad deal, considering that if you walk outside, the pavements are broken, the air is dirty, and things are not improving as steadily as you would hope. So I would much rather buy an apartment in Italy, somewhere in the Milan area, for the same price, just outside of Milan. Have several airports around me. Milan has technically 2 airports, and then you have Bergamo. I would love to live in the Bergamo area, because you're just south of the Alps. You can just cruise into Italy, to Austria, Slovenia. That for me is an attractive location to live. Now we've all seen COVID over the past 3 years, and that makes Italy a whole lot less attractive to me. And Bulgaria gets a huge plus in that regard, because we've been able to live our lives pretty freely, with your ups and downs here and there. So taking into perspective your question, is it smart to buy real estate here? There's probably a bubble going on right now that might pop anytime soon, although I really don't know. I'm not an expert in real estate, so I'm not going to claim I know more than you. I probably missed the boat on that one. If only I had money to spend, or I was handed, or my parents had money to spend, which they didn't. I would have had an apartment by now, but I don't. What I have is a rental. That's the one thing that I can tell you, renting is fairly affordable. I pay 460 euros a month for a very nice apartment here, not too far from the center in Sofia. I'm fine paying this price. It is quite low, but what you should know is that the quality of modern buildings is relatively low. Builders pretty much rush everything depending on the company. I see some firms that do a real good job. For example, Artex is a building firm that does very decent construction. Now, I'm in an Artex building right now, that's where I live. And even if there are some cracks in the wall, they just come fix it within guarantee, let's say. And they're responsive to complaints. Let's say we had some here in the suction tract in the kitchen. There was some, let's say, blockage. They just fix everything that comes up pretty much immediately. So they actually do building management as well, and I'm fairly impressed by the services that they offer. It costs a whole lot in terms of local standards. It's not really seen as affordable to pay nearly 1,000 lever per month for rent here, but it just depends on what your income is. It's worth it, I would say. So, what else are you asking? Yeah, what you should also take into account is that in the Netherlands, obviously, you have the AOW, which is the Algemene Ouderdomswet. In English, it's called the National Old Age Pensions Act. So if you're a tax resident, or you're just a citizen of the Netherlands, you're just physically present in the country, each year you build up 2% of AOW, which is the let's say, sort of build up of a government fund that you'll get when you reach pension age, retirement age, which By the way, they're increasing all the time, so you're getting older and older before you actually get your hand out. And this AOV is a sort of amount that you get each month, which you can live off. And I believe it is currently at least, it is some 18,000 euros if you're single and 12,000 if you're a married couple per person. So 18,000 euros per year once you reach 67 in a couple of months. Now, once you unregister from the Netherlands, you'll obviously not be having that compound account, let's say, of 2% per year. So what they do is they count 50 years that you're present in the Netherlands or you work, and that's times 2% makes 100%. And then you'll get your 18,000 euros per year once you reach retirement age. Each year that you're not in the Netherlands present will cost you 2%. So I've been outside of the Netherlands for 8 years. It cost me 16% in this build-up, let's say. So I haven't accounted for that. I might have a problem when I reach pension age unless I change some things in my life soon. I'm still pretty young, but I do need to start thinking about these things more. I need to fix my pension in some other ways. And obviously, you might not be very trusting in the Dutch authorities at the moment because they keep increasing the pension age. They keep lowering the pensions. And if it all goes to pot, who knows, it will just evaporate in front of your eyes in 35 years once you actually reach your retirement age. So do not count on it too much necessarily, but it is something that you need to take into account, okay? I would say you're focusing on Bulgaria quite a lot, which is very nice. And I think you'll make a good choice for coming here. You seem to be a sort of urban person. You live in The Hague. I'm sure you'll be just fine in Sofia. It is a pleasant city to live. Apart from its its faults, which are plenty. I'm not getting into that right now. It is a fun city to live for young persons, definitely. For single guys, which I think you are. Who knows, you'll find your partner here, Bulgarian or from anywhere else. You don't know who you'll meet. It's a nice adventure that you'll venture out on. I have many highly educated friends from abroad who I've worked with here. I've worked for international firms and offices as well. And I had a lot of foreigners around me and Bulgarians as well. One from Belgium, one of my friends, he moved back to Belgium at some point for the exact same concerns that he needed to focus on his future, his pension. And he's now in Belgium. He doesn't have any friends. You know how sterile the culture in the Netherlands and Belgium is. It's not very friendly. It's a bit cold. He misses Bulgaria a lot and he wants to come back here. And I said, yeah, but now with the inflation, things are twice as expensive as when you left. So do you truly want to come back? Your salary hasn't increased that much here in Belgium. You're a lot richer, despite the high taxes you pay. And he says, yes, but money doesn't mean anything when I don't have fun in life. And I said, yeah, fair point, I suppose. So he wants to come back here, so that's his own choice. I would say the world's a big place. Go try something else once you've spent 8 years in Bulgaria. But people like their stability, let's say, so I cannot blame him either. I'm here for 8 years as well. Now I would say, apart from Bulgaria, look into Cyprus as well. So I've always had my eyes on Cyprus. It is relatively... Well, it's close to Europe. It's quite far from the Netherlands, but it is the EU. It is actually quite low on taxes. You'll have to look into that, and you can just go there. And because this is the EU, you can just settle immediately. You register, and you're pretty much done. They don't have tax on wealth or on, let's see, the amount of money that you have. Now, I certainly don't have 500,000 in my bank account, but if you have that in the Netherlands, you'll be paying, what do they call it, an extra tax for that. Now, I suppose we don't have that in Bulgaria and Cyprus. They leave your personal wealth alone, which I don't know your net wealth, but it is something that you might need to look into if you're going to start building up your small, retirement fund or small fortune. pay attention to that, because the Netherlands is pretty much going to pick some small bits of that, or some not so small bits, alright? Whereas these taxes are not they don't exist in many other countries, okay? Such as an inheritance tax, which we have in the Netherlands. So you're taxed through your nose pretty much there, and then even once you die, you'll pay inheritance taxes, or your family or kids would pay that, let's say. That's not the case in Bulgaria and Cyprus. They don't have such things, okay? Now Cyprus, why do I recommend it? Because also it's a lot more attractive in terms of climate. You'll be living near the sea. You can live in a city such as Larnaca, Paphos, which I find a bit too touristy, or Nicosia, Limassol. We all live in a fairly pleasant city on the coast, pretty much, apart from Nicosia, the capital, which is divided between Cyprus and, well, a bit controversial, but there they say the Turkish occupied areas of Cyprus, and in Turkey they obviously say the Turkish part of Cyprus. I'm not going into that, but Nicosia is a divided city which has a wall pretty much going through it. It is a European country though, you can just easily live in the Greek part, at least. Good thing is that everybody speaks English in the whole of Greece and in Cyprus as well, so you won't have any burden with the local language. I find it fairly foreigner friendly as well, so have your eyes on that too. It is quite attractive if you ask me. In terms of real estate, I suppose you can just as easily get an apartment in Limassol near the coast as compared to Sofia, which might be a lot less attractive for you, because you're basically just in the city, very far inland. You have 3 hours drive to the coast. Do you actually want that, okay? Keeping in mind that the airports of Larnaca and Paphos are served by a lot of airlines, do not be mistaken. It's a vacation country, it's a vacation land, but Cyprus is pretty big, and you can jet set pretty much all over the place, right? You have Wizz Air, you have Ryanair, and a lot of other airlines that people use to get to Cyprus, but you can use them in return to go to mainland Europe if you want. You're quite close to Israel, you can fly to Tel Aviv, you could fly to Beirut before the crisis happened there. It's not going that great there right now, but that's all around the corner, so fairly attractive if you ask me. Do not consider mainland Greece, because for some reason they have very unattractive tax regimens, whereas Cyprus is a lot more attractive, so that's something you should know. Look into Malta as well. I don't know a whole lot about Malta, I've never been there, but I might have some attractive tax regimens as well. I wouldn't be fond of Malta myself. I think it's fairly cramped, busy. I don't like that, too small. At least in Cyprus you have a pretty big slab of land that you'll be able to explore, okay? So you'll just have more space around you and more cities. The cities are pretty much divided. You don't have one huge metropolis like Sofia, where pretty much 30% of the country lives, okay? It's a bit more divided there, which makes it more appealing as well. What else did you ask? I think that's pretty much it. I keep that a short video. I think that's all. Well, if you have anything else, feel free to reach out. I hope that was interesting, and take care. Bye.